Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the United States of a Movie podcast. We're the movie podcast where we get together and we make every Monday a fun day because we love to talk movies. But of course, we have a point here at the United States of a Movie as we are trying to find one movie to define each state in these United States. We've already finished one trip around the states. We're currently on our second, and today we stop off in the great state of Iowa. Ooh, Iowa. Make a movie about Iowa and people will come to watch it. At least that's the conclusion we came to last time because our current champion is... What's that movie called again? I've forgotten it.
Field of
Dreams.
Corn guys.
Field of Screams.
I completely blanked on that movie. Thank goodness, though, because I have two co-hosts to keep me on track. Let's welcome back to the show. As always, Ryan Sandler. Welcome back, buddy. Love your t-shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be back. Some of you may have noticed we took a little time off. It's because all of our tractors broke down. We were trying to figure out how to all connect, I guess. I don't know.
You nailed it, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely crushed it. But I'll tell you what, though, we did actually, that's a good reference because we did have some really interesting movies this week. Before we get to that, though, as always, sitting in the middle of his very own video store in the center of Los Angeles, California, Will Hirsch. Welcome back, buddy.
Thank you. It's great to be back. And the guys are kind of running interference because the real reason why this episode's delayed is I keep climbing up that water tower, even though everyone tells me not to do it. But, you know.
Oh, I love your jokes, guys. I love it every time. I wonder where we're going to go with this one. But today, well, the reason they're making these jokes, or at least trying to make these jokes, is...
Jokes. Yeah. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
The two movies that we brought to the table, that we kind of went a little bit different. We took a different approach. They were weirdly quite similar. It was
Not a ton of Iowa movies.
Right, no, but like... In this case, okay, we so like Ryan, why don't you introduce one of the movies that we're bringing to the table?
I haven't seen either of these movies. I think I was listening to one of our older episodes where I mentioned that I did, but I did not. We picked What's Eating Gilbert Grape from 1993. Yes.
Yeah, What's Eating Gilbert Grape? I remember that, like, you know, it
Who
was
Who knows?
Yeah.
Spoiler: nothing ate him.
Nothing ate him. He's not really eating anything. It's directed by Lasse Hallström, who apparently directed all of ABBA's music videos. But it stars young Johnny Depp, a young Juliette Lewis, a young Leonardo DiCaprio, John C. Reilly, all kinds of people, actually. Yeah. It's got like a pretty stacked cast.
Our boy Crispy Glover.
Yes, yes, Crispin Glover as well. And it's like, it's a movie that it just moves kind of slow. It's not like a normal movie, if you know what I mean. There's no kind of like massive thing or arcing thing. It's kind of quiet. It's kind of introspective, and it's very much kind of inside the head of Johnny Depp.
I was trying to think back, like, because this movie, I feel like this movie was so popular that I'm sure I'd seen like jokes and references like from The Critic or something else. So it's like I got this movie without ever having seen it. But in '93, I was like, way more into Jurassic Park than I would have ever seen this at like 10 years old. Like, you know?
Well, a lot of people didn't see this movie. In fact, it was a bit of a flop, but it made most of its money on the back end when it's just a lot of video rentals and video sales.
All the merchandising?
Yeah, it's classic. You know,
toys.
You could have the Jurassic Park sort of lunchbox.
Water tower playset.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape? You got the Lego house that sets fire and everything else. But it's a movie that, like, you know, I remember seeing it like years and years ago, because it's the same way that you were saying. It's just one of those movies I've heard about. And I'm like, okay. And I like Johnny Depp, and it was like, okay, cool. But it was a movie that when I did see it, and I remember talking about it last week, is that what stuck with me is Leonardo DiCaprio plays the sort of the mentally slow brother. In a way, you know, it's never really fully identified, you know, what it is that he's dealing with. I think it's kind of like, feels to me kind of on the spectrum.
Sure.
But his performance in this movie, it's really something, because he was only 19. He got nominated for an Academy Award Golden Globe for this. And for me, that was the thing I was most interested to see what you guys thought is DiCaprio, because it's the beginning, you're like, it's a lot, but the longer you watch it, the more you're like, wow.
I think like most people, if this was your first time seeing this movie and seeing Leonardo DiCaprio, it is fully believable that that is how he is. Like it's
Yeah.
not, it doesn't feel like he's acting at all. It's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
To a
Yeah.
point where I was like, you can't make this movie today. Like you can't.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it was an excellent performance. I mean, it just goes to show he's always been like that dedicated of an actor to like his craft. So it's one of those. I understand why I got the buzz for that reason, because for the performances and stuff. But this is a movie that I think just because the title is so catchy and sticks in your head, I think a lot of the jokes and stuff I've seen in pop culture over the years are in reference to that title, like some riff on, like even like we were doing. I think the riff in the critic was like he's a giant grape or something, you know. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't think a lot of people saw this movie when it came out, so there's no real lines or scenes that really stick around in pop culture. It's just more like, oh, that's a movie with Johnny Depp with the silly name, and that's what I think most people know about it.
Right.
Well, so it's based off. So it was made in 90, like I said, 92, 93. But based off the 1991 novel. So it's a novel that came out that they immediately sort of wrote a screenplay.
Bush by Sapphire. That's the novel.
But it's weird actually because it's like, you know, you just made the Jurassic Park reference, right? That was a movie that got commissioned just off the idea of the book that Michael Crichton was writing, and like, you know, Spielberg hears what, you know, dinosaurs. Yes, we're doing it. So it's like, because you get this buzz, you hear about these books. It's the same thing with The Martian and all this kind of stuff. Then like people are like, there's a scramble. Everyone wants to buy the rights. They want to make the movie.
Ready Player One, sure.
Right. But I mean, what about this book? Is like, we gotta make that movie. You know what the movie world needs is this really quiet, introspective movie about a guy and his obese mother and his challenged brother. Yes, it's gonna make billions of dollars. It's just such a weird thing.
You get one New York Times bestseller, and I'm sure studios are scrambling to just buy it up, and they'll turn anything
Oprah put
into
a sticker on it, maybe.
Probably.
It was part of Oprah's book.
Was my first thought, but I feel like our listeners would not understand who Oprah Winfrey is.
So what it does, okay, basically this movie, if you haven't seen it, it tells the story of Gilbert Grape in the small town of Endora, Iowa. And he's basically, the whole thing is like, he cares for everybody else. He's very much has to play the dad role for his sort of younger brother. He's got a couple of sisters, you know, an older one, a younger one. And he also kind of has to be like a mom at the same time for the kids as well, because there's a mom who lives in the house. Now she's like a bigger woman, and she's kind of not really left the house, and she kind of is carrying all this stuff, and she feels this shame, and it's because of depression, because their father died, and she kind of just sort of spiraled. And that's what I mean, is it's a very, very simple movie in a way that doesn't play out the way you think most movies do. It just has a bunch of moments and scenes and things, and it just slowly builds up. When it does get to that sort of conclusion, it's like, it's kind of hard to describe, because you're watching the movie and it's moving very slowly, but you're also like really into it. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm watching this movie and I'm not sure why, but
yeah, it is very vignette-y in that way, and it does it. Once it ended, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, great.
Yeah, it's pretty much like a slice of life kind of movie. Until it gets to like the last kind of act, and then there's kind of more of a through line where things come together. But even then, if you're kind of looking for a lot of big setups and payoffs, this movie doesn't really have that necessarily. Maybe if I were to really think about it, I could find some, but it's more just, you're just looking at a window in their life during this time period.
Actors acting.
Yeah. It's very small town.
Almost like a play, almost, you could say.
Yeah. But it's like, it's very authentic in its feel of this small town and this sort of vibe. The one thing that isn't authentic is the Iowa of it. Because like, I remember the movie starting, the first thing I texted you guys was like, oh wow, man, this looks like just any sort of small town in Texas, quick Google, oh, it's Pflugerville. It's just down the road. You know what I mean? It's like, it looks very familiar for a reason. It looks like Texas to me.
Right.
But it's like, but that whole thing of like, it's just filled. Well, like we were saying, is, you've got like just John C. Reilly being John C. Reilly and Crispin Glover being Crispin Glover, Mary Steenburgen, and just like all playing this, like Will said, this sort of slice of life, these real people, this real vibe. There's a little bit of it's like the town's dying a little bit because they built a Walmart, but it's not a Walmart, just outside of town. And it's like, it's that old way is sort of like,
it's Mystery Alaska all over again.
Yeah, right. It's Mystery Alaska, but without the ridiculous, like, we're bringing in
the insane third act. Like it builds up to what I think a birthday party in this. That kind of
it's act, right? DiCaprio's 18th birthday party.
Yeah.
Which I was actually shocked that he was actually 19 at the time. He looks like a baby.
Yeah.
He looks so young in this. But this is back in the days when him and Tobey Maguire and David Blaine were crushing it in Hollywood at the club scene. Like, this is
David Blaine?
David Blaine was part of that posse, which is the weirdest thing.
That's awesome.
It's like when David Blaine's first special came out. It's Leonardo DiCaprio introducing it and interviewing in between and all this kind of stuff. Like, what? That's crazy.
Watch me make this cocaine disappear.
Magic. Wow, that was really good. That was really good, man. That was really good. That was really good. Do that again. Do that again.
Do it again. Yeah.
We gotta film it, man. We should make a movie called Don's Plum. It will be huge.
Fuck.
Is that the movie that they shot experimentally and they've like done everything they can to make sure no one ever sees it?
Yeah. But someone has seen it.
Someone's got the 4K ad novelization of it.
Exactly.
So let's get into this movie. The movie is like,
opens with a voiceover.
It's just like, what's interesting is like the thing that adds a little bit into what's going on is like, basically there's this Airstreamers club that apparently on the same day every year drives through town on the way to whatever they're doing to go camping somewhere else, and one of these Airstreams breaks down, and that's where we sort of like introduce Juliette Lewis and her grandmother, because they're in this town for like a week. I think this movie goes on over a week or something like that, and it just kind of like her entering into Gilbert's life is just that little thing that just disrupts what he's been doing. And like I said, the undercurrent of this movie is that Gilbert does everything for everybody else. If he's not plowing Mary Steenburgen,
right,
and it's like, or looking after his mother or looking after his kids, but he never takes any moment like for himself. That's the plot. That's the movie is. When will this guy have a moment of self-realization that he sacrifices a lot of stuff for everybody else? It's like, that's it.
When can I do the eating?
Yeah.
It's my time. Why do I have to be the eater? The title of this is bizarre. Is the book? I assume the book is the same title. Right?
Indeed, it is. But like, what's interesting is that there's this huge thing is about the mum. And so the mum
thing, nice.
No, right, okay, but it's like is that Darlene Cates is the actress, and it's really enough is that there's a lot of sort of overlaps. So this is like the first movie she ever did. It's one of the only movies she ever did. She got discovered from being on like Sally Raphael, whatever. It's like, she was seen on TV.
Yeah, she's not an actor.
Right.
And it felt like that in this movie too.
Well, that's exactly it. It feels very just real. Kind of like what Will was saying, that you just feel like we're peeking in on this family's life. But then on top of that is that she herself hadn't left her house for like 5 years before this movie, because she had become morbidly obese, because she was feeling this sort of, she turned inwards and she was feeling the shame. And then the kind of the way they do it in the movie, it's a really interesting balance, the way they do the story about the mum, because there's an element of humor to it sometimes, that, the way the kids are trying to peek in and get a look at her, the way that, there's just like the way that the town talks about it. But then of course it's done with a great deal of sensitivity. Like a perfect example being the moment when the sheriffs finally take Leonardo DiCaprio and they lock him up. Okay, they're just tired of him always running off, climbing up that water tower, causing trouble. So they're like, oh, we got to teach him a lesson, right? And that's the moment that she's like, get my house coat, we're going. And everyone's like, wait, she's leaving the house. But you get the sort of juxtaposition of she gets out of the car and everyone's looking at her, you know, in that way. Everyone's just like staring at her like this crazy thing.
It's like a circus
Yeah.
sideshow
Mhm.
kind
But
of
then you've also
thing.
got
Yeah.
that sort of like truth and slash humor of when the car's driving,
Mm.
you know, it's leaned all the way over to one side. And it's like, it's a really interesting thing. But I also found kind of strange is that, you know, in 1993, when this was made, this is like, you know, wow, like she's a big woman.
Yeah.
And it's a thing. Whereas like nowadays, it's like, wow, she's like millions of Americans. It's
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
She's average at best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, but it's like it's really crazy that
I was
you
thinking
look at
like
that through that
yeah.
lens. I'm like, wow, we see things real different nowadays.
My memories of this movie were that it was like weirdly used as a tool to insult kids in the playground, like in some capacity. Like we had never seen the movie, but we were aware of it, and we were just using that as a crutch to make fun of other people, and it's fucking horrible.
Yeah. I mean,
I still do, but you know,
You go and make
used
fun of
on
kids.
playgrounds.
Yeah.
I
it's
used to
weird.
also, yeah.
Yeah, this is one that's going to be interesting to talk about and like how it represents Iowans, because this really does not make them look very good, because everyone is making fun of the mom, you know, kind of like, if they're not directly laughing at her, kind of like whispering to each other and
Peeking through the windows of their
Yeah.
house.
peeking through the window. Yeah. So it doesn't really present Iowans as like
Mhm.
the nicest people.
But I don't think that's the idea. I think, like
Right.
I said, it is more a slice of life of like this one family and everything that they're going through, and how the weight of all of that falls onto Johnny Depp's character. How he's kind of he becomes like the patriarch because their father, spoiler alert, kills himself in their basement.
I was a little confused by that. Did the father run away and the older brother kill himself, or was it the reverse?
Thought the father hung himself on the. That's why he like breaks the beam at the end, like. Because when John C.
Yeah.
Reilly's down there and they're setting it up, he's like, "So this is where it happened," or something to that effect. Not sure.
Yeah,
Right,
and then
yeah.
was it the older? So then the older brother was the one who has left the family, because there was an older brother too.
So
Or did he also kill himself? I was a little confused.
Husband's suicide.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, it's you're right. I mean, it's there's a lot.
It's heavy.
It is.
It
I
is,
mean,
yeah.
again, but like, you know, like that's it. That whole thing of when they've got John C. Reilly sort of sneaking in to reinforce the house because the dad built the house, but nothing was kind of built
Yeah.
right. You know, what I mean?
With that in mind, like
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, I
interesting
mean-
how they use, you know, like I said, it's one of those movies that you know they shot the whole thing just out there in town,
Yeah.
in the house, a real house. They're shooting the interiors inside.
I think like the issue I had with this was like the use of humor in it felt a little like disconnected at times. Like if you're gonna make this movie, I think making it very like really leaning into it, making it very serious, but having those moments of levity, like kind of made me feel a little disconnected from it. Like I don't know.
It's hard. It's not a movie that'll suck everybody in. It's a movie that you have to want to watch. And
Yeah.
when you are watching, you're watching it. But like, there's bits that were making me laugh. Was like, say the husband of
Yeah, finding maybe or maybe not knowing that Johnny
definitely
Depp is
knows.
fucking his wife,
Yeah,
right?
and it's
Right.
like, but the way that it was almost like a Family Guy character in a way that like he comes back home and he's obviously like this guy is just trying to make it work and he wants the marriage to work and he's got his kids and he's like, come on kids, come on, we're gonna bounce on the trampoline, we're having a good time, right? We're having a good time, I'm a great dad, ha 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 ha. You know, it's just this kind of like this manic kind of, but again, it was being played in a subtle way, but for laughs at the same time. And then the way he dies, you know, face down in the pool, and then the rumor that everyone's like,
hilarious.
oh, like, it's right. This movie is like, it feels so, like I said, like Lasse Hallström, like I said, Swedish film director. I'm watching it and it's like, it doesn't feel like an American movie. It
Right.
feels
That's true,
very, you know, European-y art house,
see
but of
that.
course, but it's thick in the Americana of it all. you know, with the water towers and with the, you know, when the burger thing turns up, like, you know, prefabricated, like McDonald's is turning up into the town, and the little teeny tiny town, and then, like, you know, the store that Johnny Depp's working at, and the way he's like, oh, I would never go to the Walmart, sir, and then he has to because he has to get the birthday cake, and he walks out, and the guy's like right there. It's just like
Right.
it's kind of like what we've talked about before of like it's always interesting to see how non-Americans see America. And
Yeah.
then when they make a movie, they make a very different one. Whether
Yeah.
it's like crazy big explosive ones of Roland Emmerich, or it's the sort of the quieter, more sort of
Yeah.
introspective ones like this one.
So you're saying
Yeah.
if Paul Verhoeven directed this film,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. God,
very
could you
different.
imagine if Verhoeven
Yeah.
directed
Man.
it?
Yeah.
I'm trying.
No, it's definitely less reverential of sort of small town America as opposed to like Field of Dreams or Straight Story. It's definitely, it's not as in love with the small town Americana, and maybe it's a little bit more honest in that sense, in that it's not romanticizing the small town. It's kind of
Yeah.
presenting it as it is. But you know, it's still got that layer of it's still not quite real because you have characters like Crispy Glover's character who is just, spoiler alert, he's a weirdo. I know that's
Yeah.
weird. That's what a left turn for Crispy Glover.
Incredible
That bitch-
casting.
That bit
Yeah.
of absurdity, yeah, like
Yeah,
like
Because he runs the funeral home, right? And so he's
Right.
just kind of like, you know,
he's an odd guy. Yeah,
kind of waiting for
Um,
people to die, so he's got something to do, you know?
yeah,
right.
when he explains how the insurance guy dies and by the bending of the spoon to be like doop, like okay,
Yeah, yeah. He's
happens
he's
all the time.
yeah, he's really interested and excited to go into details on how people die and stuff. But and that's kind of something throughout the movie too. Is the specter of death, because of that character, is always like
Yeah.
throughout the movie. And you've got the what I thought was being a setup, which is Leonardo DiCaprio's character was supposed to die when he was like, I think 10 or
Right.
13 or something like that. So they're all aware, they're kind of on borrowed time with him. But then the movie takes a left turn there too, and you're like, oh, I guess that's not a
Mhm.
direct setup, or it's more of a misdirection. It's
And
kind of interesting.
They never explain what it is about him that gives him this ticking clock, other than his maladies. Like,
Yeah,
It's
because he
not
doesn't seem to have
sick. He's
he
just,
doesn't seem to have any degenerative disabilities. It's all seems like it's just on the autism spectrum, which doesn't,
Right.
that alone doesn't
Un-
carry any
un-
sort of like ticking clock.
unless it's just because he likes climbing on really tall things.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it's only a matter of time. Like,
The doctor did the X-rays, and they're like, yeah, he has a 20% chance of dying from
he's-
height.
from yeah, it's like
What?
they're looking at his like, so how much time does he have? What's gonna cause this? He looks at this like long sheet. He goes, gravity,
Yeah.
Yeah.
more than likely.
Well, not so much. Maybe just the ground when he meets
Yeah.
it.
Right. For most of the fall, he'll be quite fine.
It's that last bit is
Yeah. That's the one that gets you.
yeah.
But like, it's but the thing is, you're right. It is that kind of like, it's all sort of that looming death because they're talking about what happened with the husband and then what's going on with the family, and the fact that yes, we're celebrating his 18th birthday because he was never really kind of going to get there. But then it's also then like what happens with the mother as well. Like I said, this movie is not like a feel good movie.
No.
You know,
No.
it's not going to pick you up. It's not going to push you down either. You're just going to be like, oh wow.
It's very middle ground in that sense. Like for the swings that it takes, it plays it kind of safe in that sense, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah. They make a point that, well, Mary Steenburgen character makes a point of like, well, the reason why she picked him to hook up with it, she's like, well, I know you're never going to leave. Like, and he's got that added pressure of, oh my God, is this going to be my life forever? And then the movie kind of doesn't ever resolve that.
No.
It, even the way it ends, you're like, well, okay, I guess we can take away that he's probably made peace with that. Not super clear, but also maybe that's not or maybe that is the point.
Well,
is
I
that's
think
supposed to
I
be
think
kind
in
of
the end it
ambiguous.
does, you know, because it does a time jump. It jumps us a year ahead at the very end, and it's like, and they go off on the road, and he's like, we can go anywhere. You know what I mean? So you see, he's kind of made peace. He's made peace. Like his brother, you know, seems to be doing better by the look of him. You know, it's amazing how he does look different at the end of the movie. They're very like you said, DiCaprio can age up, age down, and like he's a fucking chameleon.
They cured him? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right. But it's like it's yeah. I mean, it's even Johnny Depp was like saying when he was making the movie, he was like worried he was playing it all just so muted.
Yeah.
But it's a guy he's in, you know, that's what he is. He's in arrested, like not so much development, but just an arrested state of he's not moving forwards, he's not moving backwards, he's just existing.
Yeah, and he can't leave his family behind. Like there's so much pressure on him. There's so much eating at him. I guess you could say.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
But it's like it only really comes to a head where it's a very, very sudden scene, but it's like, you know, as you see as the movie, like, so Arnie, right? Is that Arnie's the son, the younger brother by Leonardo DiCaprio. And he's like, he doesn't like to, he's sort of doesn't want to get in water. He's kind of afraid of water. He's kind of dirty. I mean, like they even said in the movie, like he didn't bathe for the longest time. Like he was so in character kind of vibe, but he does, he looks sticky and he looks dirty and he looks like he's been outside and he's been climbing trees. And it's the bit where Johnny Depp finally sort of snaps, and hits his brother, like, you know, just finally just acts out, and then, you know, runs off. And I was like, it's really like you feel, but like you feel for Johnny Depp, you feel for Gilbert, but
you can feel that frustration,
brother.
Yeah.
And then like,
that was a tough scene for sure. Like there are a lot of scenes in this movie where you're like, wow, that just hits. You know, you can really resonate with those characters.
Yeah.
I remember reading like Johnny Depp was just like he was constantly apologizing to Darlene, the one that plays his mom, and just like I just don't like I'm so sorry, because it's like I said, it's barely acting on her part. She's basically just owning up to her own life and insecurities and everything else. That I mean, it must be just a really interesting movie to make, because it's that bit where it all kind of comes to a head at the end. Where so spoiler alert. But did you guys see it coming when suddenly the mum just dies?
Kind of. I mean,
it was, there was getting to be some part of the movie when she's like going up to her own bed where you're like, okay, so she's preparing to do something. And her last conversation with Gilbert, really, you're kind of like, oh, okay, I can kind of see what's coming now.
And then because she says, "Get my birthday boy," or she says something to that effect, and then like that whole thing with DiCaprio's character, like realizing that seeing it all transpire on his face was I mean, it's incredible. Like it really that's when this movie was like, oh my god, this is like, it's heavy. Like I don't ever want to watch this movie again.
Right. Yeah.
That was so I remember last time when on the last episode I was telling you guys, I was like, there's a moment in this movie I really can't wait for you to see. That's it. Is that moment. It's one of the best bits of acting I have ever seen by anyone in the history of ever, is Leonardo DiCaprio playing someone, you know, with sort of a problem, you know, like, so he's playing it, but he's playing it really well. And it's this
almost too well,
having a realization that his mom's dead and doing it. Apparently it was only on this, I think that was take 2, but like, that is the thing that whenever I think of this movie, that immediately pops into my head, because I remember watching it the first time and I'm going, how does anybody do that?
Yeah. And I wonder too, like if it's ever implied that his character also found their father like that too. I was wondering if, you know, like,
but yeah, that bit of mum come play mum, you know, and it's not played like anybody else would, like the way that they would have this realization or the drama or the crying. It's then
you see every single fucking emotion, like
you see it on his head, and then that moment of like thinking about it, and then, you know, then it cuts to the bit where he goes outside and you see he's like, okay, he's acting out because he's feeling things that he can't fully like express or process. Yeah, man, that is like, just, I mean, it's the crazy to me it took so long for Leonardo DiCaprio to get the Oscar, considering just the body of work the guy's had. But this is where he's sort of like kicking off as this. I mean, like, kind of like what you're saying is when they got to the premiere and DiCaprio is walking like the carpet, people were like, wait, you
got vaccinated?
Yeah, right. God almighty, right?
Supposed to get it all out before the podcast.
God damn it. Sorry.
Oh
But
man.
you're right. Like you watch him in this movie. Like I was watching it through that lens of like picturing myself. Okay, this is the first time it's not true, but picturing myself like this is my first DiCaprio film. Seeing him in this, you're like, wow, this is incredible. To feel to learn that he is acting in this is crazy because it's so convincing. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays it perfectly.
Mhm.
Like the bit where after Johnny Depp's hit him, right?
That's another
And
great scene. Yeah.
but it's like when Johnny Depp comes back and he's carrying all this guilt, but you see how his brother, has forgiven him because he
Mhm.
immediately he plays his game, which is he gets up in the tree
Mhm.
and he's like,
Mhm.
where's Arnie? And it was again, I'm watching going, God, that feels so authentic, like just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
genuine and so real. Of like, it's like I said, you can't have that speech between brothers of like, oh, I forgive you or anything like that. It's just done in the way that he's playing the game, but he's playing it in a way to say it's okay, let's play the game, and
Mhm.
we're playing the
Mhm.
game. It means everything's okay.
Yeah.
It's just I that's what I mean about that. This movie, I think, has survived and gone so long and had sort of the thing that it is like is just the everything feeling so real and so
Yeah.
into but kind of like Ryan has said, it's not the kind of what I'm gonna watch today. What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
No,
You know?
unless you're doing this podcast, and
Yeah.
even then.
Right. Yeah. It's not quite the feel good movie. Like I would argue the next movie we're talking about is it's not that kind
Mhm.
of, you know. I'd be worried if somebody was like, "Yeah, this is my feel good movie." I'd be like, "Are you all right?" Like,
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and then, I
This
mean,
is
like, say for example, the way it ends, because so the kids play off, they're all sitting around the bed kind of thing, and but then they all just get they're like that moment of realization is even though Mum's dead, they're gonna have to bring a crane. The
mm,
town's gonna turn like like Will's saying is like,
it's
oh,
gonna be
they're gonna
a
pull up the
circus.
chairs
Yeah.
and it's gonna be a circus and they're gonna watch it, and it was like, no, let's just burn the house down. It's
mhm.
like
Yeah. But
it's
and
such a
then what?
whoa,
Like
yeah.
Right.
insurance fraud?
Right. Yeah. I'm like pretty sure you can't just burn a body, but I could be wrong.
Well, in
But
Iowans
Iowa, actually.
Iowans chime in. Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, it was. But that's kind of what I mean is as well as like about that sense of realizing just how real the movie's been is because you're like, oh wow, they shot in that house and they've been doing all this stuff and they just burn it for real.
All right.
It's when you're looking at it, when you're watching a movie and you go, okay, well behind that window they've just got pipes and they're just piping through some gas to create the idea and look of a no, they
Yeah,
burnt
they
that
just burn
place
that shit down.
down.
Yeah.
Like you see it like roiling fire and the
Yeah.
smoke and everything else going crazy. And I was just sitting there wondering, oh, I wonder what the residents of like Pflugerville could see it, like
Yeah. And
oh,
Not again.
yeah.
yeah. And burning the tree next to the house. After a while,
Yes,
I was kind of like,
that's the thought I
could
was
they have been
having.
doing this? Like,
Yeah, because that's the tree that that Arnie's been playing in the whole time. But yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Is like, wow, this movie it's just a different kind of movie. But it does, like it does jump ahead, and we get that kind of like a little bit of a little bow put on it, and it's like he kind of moves on with his with his life. But then yeah, like Will was saying, is that so we did pick another movie this week that I'd never heard of.
Hmm.
And then I was really like, the more you told me about it, the more I was like, what? And
mhm.
then as the movie started, I go, wow, is this movie gonna be like, what is this movie?
Hmm.
And it ended up being quite a charming thing that I get into it and I'm like, wow, this guy got nominated for an Oscar and like this movie actually
Mhm.
gets like incredible reviews and stuff. So, well, like, Will, tell us about this. Tell us about this movie, where you heard about it. Just give us a little bit because it was a really, really interesting watch.
Yeah, I first heard about this a couple years ago because it's the Straight Story is the movie, and I am not the biggest David Lynch fan. In fact, I don't think I've really liked any of his movies. I like the dude. Like every time I've heard him speak and heard him talk, I'm like,
Hmm.
he's incredibly cool. I love his philosophy on working with actors and filmmaking. I love all that, but in terms of his filmography, I'm not as in love with Mulholland Drive as a lot of people are. Um, Lost Highway didn't quite do it for me. I can't stand Eraserhead. Like, so I don't connect to his work really. I like exactly Twin Peaks for the first season and a half, and then I don't like anything after that, including the new season, which I know I'm alone on this. I really don't like the new season. But
For
this
a
is
guy that
always
doesn't like David Lynch, you've seen almost everything the guy's ever done.
because I like the guy so much, and
Yeah.
I'm like, there's got to be something like that I can see of his that I like, but I had always heard about this one, as he's even said it's his most experimental movie. Nuts.
This one is?
Yes,
That's what he says, yeah, which is
Yeah,
crazy because it's the
insane.
most normal movie he's
I mean,
ever
it does
made.
feel
Yeah.
very out of pocket for his catalog, you know?
Yeah, very different. But so this is the first movie I saw of his that I could definitively say I loved this movie.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it. I'm at my parents' house right now for a couple weeks, just visiting family. And I watched it with my dad, and even he, like, I had to like preface it beforehand where I was like, I think this movie's going to be very slow. This is not an action extravaganza. I don't quite know what to expect. And both of us were just like really drawn into it. And just like halfway through, we were like, I think we're kind of loving this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It
It's
took a little while for the movie to click with me too, but by the end, it had completely won me over.
Yeah, that's a very, 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 very much how I was feeling about it too, because I wasn't really sure where we're starting. And it's like, you guys were joking about it, is that, we've got the small sort of Iowa story about the guy and his family member who's like, got a sort of issue. And then this is the exact same sort of thing,
Sort of,
setup
yeah.
and premise. But like, so it stars Richard Farnsworth, who was making this movie while dying of terminal bone cancer. Like, and it's like the things with his legs is real. That's the way that he was. And his daughter's played by Sissy Spacek, who made an interesting choice in the way that she talked about things that, like, at the beginning I was like having real trouble understanding
It was driving me crazy.
Yeah, it's probably a very realistic performance, but it did make it, especially when they were giving her monologues at a certain point where I was like, oh, okay, I can't really, I'm having a hard time following what she's saying. I'm trying very hard. So that's the one part of the movie where I'm like, her performance is great, but I had to have a lot of patience with it and then just kind of like really lock in during that part.
It took me a while. It took until about the third scene before I'm like, okay, I can understand what she's saying. Because it was just like, wait, what's going on here? But this was interesting. So I didn't really look too much into this movie, right? I kind of, I went into it just very, very blind. And the more I'm watching it, then I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So it's a true story. So it tells the story of, in 1994, this guy, Alvin Strait, he got on his like lawnmower and he just drove for 6 weeks across Iowa to Wisconsin to see his brother. His brother had a stroke. That's the movie, guys. That's the whole movie. That's the plot of the movie. This movie moves at the pace of a lawnmower traveling across
This
Iowa.
movie is the definition of the phrase, like, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Exactly. That is what this movie is, because you're waiting for this moment when he gets to sort of like see his brother, so to jump ahead and spoil the movie for you, he sees his brother and he's like, one line, credits.
But it's a very profound line.
Yes, it's incredible.
It really is.
But it felt so real. So to the point that when we were like, it starts off in this town in Iowa, and immediately I'm Googling it, Lawrence, Iowa, real place. That's where they're shooting it. And then I'm like, I bet none of these people are actors. Is my my next thing, my next vibe. All of these people just felt like actual residents.
Except for the Farley brothers.
Which that's the Olsen twins.
That's great. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I didn't realize that because I heard that apparently Chris Farley was going to be in it as well. But of course, we know.
Well, we were talking about this where it hit me as I was watching the scene, where I'm like, oh, those are Chris Farley's brothers. This came out in 1999. Chris Farley died in 1997, and Farnsworth is having a dialogue about how nobody knows you like your brother and how it's important to see it. And I'm like, he's saying that to Chris Farley's brothers. They just lost their brother in real life. So like that was hitting me extra hard during that scene. I was like, oh man, that was a bit of a gut punch. And I'm like, that had to have been intentional.
This
You know,
this whole movie is not a gut punch, but it is a bit
Mhm.
of like a. It's just very real. So you know, I promise, like ladies and gents at home, so you can. This is a Disney movie, right?
That's
Disney
the
bought it. It
a
is a David
Disney
Lynch,
produced David Lynch film is
which
Right.
is
crazy.
just in every way what.
Yeah.
You know, it's on Disney Plus, and again, guys, it moves real slow. It's the way the movie begins. You're just kind of like, what is this movie really about? What is it gonna be? And it just you can't stop. You kind of along for the ride. You know,
It
I'm like in every way. I'm like I
Because the thing is,
promise.
yeah.
it opens with a larger woman sunbathing with one of those like metal foil things, eating coconut snowballs.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like the hot summer, I was like, that is fucking crazy.
That's a very David Lynchian thing because I
Yeah,
feel
of
like
course.
that's something that would appear in,
No one
in
eats
like
snowballs. Those are
yeah.
disgusting.
That's something that would happen in Twin Peaks. That would be a side character in that. So that
Yeah,
felt that's the thing is like even though this is so unlike his other movies, I can see David
yeah.
Lynch shining
It's got his
through.
fingers all over it. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
which is
sure.
very unique. But even though we're saying it's slow, it's captivating the entire time.
That's it. Yeah.
It's not like it's boring. You're not sitting there like, when is the next
It's
thing gonna
engaging.
happen?
You're because it is because at the core of it, I mean, he is traveling this great distance at a very slow pace, and it's just his interactions with the people that he meets throughout.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
you're engaged. You're like, okay, well, what's next? Like, and it's just him having conversations, camping, and everyone is like super chill with this guy because he's
Mhm.
fucking great.
Yeah.
And it's like you're just waiting for that next interaction because it's so entertaining.
It's like yeah, he's kind of like slowly making his way across the state, and he
I
just
would thought of
drops.
the world's fastest Indian because
Yeah,
we watched that.
Yeah.
the world's slowest Indian that you
The world's slowest Indian.
Yeah.
But it's like it's yeah, he's dropping nuggets of
Yeah.
wisdom in these people, like you know that with the sort of the hitchhiker, and
Hmm.
it's
Mhm.
you know he has a sit down and he's like, so you know, I love the bit because it's like he's just so you know wise because he's old. And he goes, so how far along are you? You know, I didn't like
Yeah.
I he go, oh shit, of course. He's like he goes, you're a young girl hitchhiking, running away, so you're pregnant, huh? And she's like, yeah,
Mhm.
5 months pregnant. And it's like,
But
and they have
it doesn't have this like bit of mysticism to it. He's just like a regular guy
mhm.
that has wisdom, you know?
Lawnmower shaman, you know, like
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, he's just got all this lived experience. Because the movie's in no rush to tell you his backstory. It just kind of comes out naturally through his interactions, and you
Yeah.
realize what a life this guy has lived
Yeah, the
up till
monologue
this
he
point.
has at the bar later on
yeah,
is
Oh my
oh,
God.
that's when yeah,
we'll
yeah,
get to
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was the moment for me where I'm like, fuck, okay, this is incredible.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
it's
it
brilliant the way it just colors in the edges for us.
mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
because I was like, oh wow. I mean, like when he's talking to that little like young girl, and he's like, oh yeah, my wife gave me 14 kids, seven of them died. You know, seven of them made it. I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit. And then he goes on to say, oh, you know, my daughter, like you said, it's with unspecified disability. But, you know, we see her just sort of sitting at the window looking at this kid
Mhm.
from next door. And then we find out, no, there was a house fire. And like one of her kids got really badly burned or something like that, or died. But then her four children got taken away from her because they didn't believe. Because she was like, you know, looking after him. She was a great
Yeah.
mom. But so it's like, that's this sadness, this profound sadness. And then he's just sort of like, he's moving forward. And then, yeah, like you said, so he gets invited for a drink by this older bloke and he's like, oh, I don't drink anymore, you know. And he said it got mean. It made me.
Mhm.
I was mean, and I said things to my brother 10 years ago, and we haven't spoken since. But then it's that line of like, it's the other guy that says, yeah, a lot of men came back from war drinking, and you know, drinking to forget, and I can see it in a man a mile away, and then suddenly they both like the guy
Mhm.
just opens up and tells his war story, and I'm like, I the guy's lip is going. I wonder if that was just a real bloody story
It
because
was
it
an
was,
incredible monologue. Yeah.
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 And
I
then
mean,
he does his own. I'm like, that's when I'm watching this movie going, I've never seen anything movie like this ever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The line that got me is when Farnsworth was saying, like, you know, I'm old now, but when I imagine my buddies, they're all young,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's where it
Yeah.
was like, oh
That
my
was funny.
God.
That was like, yeah, that broke me. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. and it's like it's again when they like there's a bit where he's with all those cyclists and he's having conversation with those young boys, and it's like when you're young you never think about being old, and they go, come on, there's got to be something great about being old, and he goes, like, you know, what's the hardest thing is like remembering being young. You know, and there's just so much about like I didn't think I was gonna like the movie as much as I did. And like, you know, the way it started, the way it was being shot, the way, and I was like, but it just became just a,
It's folksy, but
yeah.
he
I mean, I
taught
like
you
the
this,
bit
like,
that cracked
really
me up is where he
heavy
takes the
stuff.
shotgun to his old lawnmower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, like, you know, and then he buys this 1960s John Deere. But it also, because, you know, kind of like the way that, you know, Will, you were saying with Gilbert Grape is like, it's not romanticizing small town in a way. Like, this one isn't romanticizing, but it is very romantic about Iowa, about like
Yeah.
the people that you meet, about the small town mindset, about the determination of this guy of, you know, he knows approaching the end of his life. And like, you know, when they said, aren't you afraid of camping outside? Ma'am, I used to sleep in the trenches of World War II. What have I got to be afraid of in an Iowa field?
Yeah.
You know, like just things like that. But like, you just want him to do it. And like he comes across all these problems, as you imagine, like, you know, the lawnmower breaking down. He sort of bivouacs in that backyard. There's people taking in. The guy's like, look, hey man, I can just drive you. It'll be a nice Sunday drive. And he's like, no, sir. You know, I've got to do it my own way. Like, and the way he refuses to come into their house. No, sir.
Yeah.
You know, the guy is just pure like honor and pure of spirit. And in everything else that you're just like, you're so on board and rooting for him.
Yeah. Until you find out he's a war criminal.
A bit of a bombshell.
Until that reveal, you're like, oh, this guy's a fucking piece of shit, huh?
Yeah, he was like,
Killing his own
He was
men?
in the SS. Yeah, he's telling his World War II stories, but he was on the other side.
Yeah, you find out which side he was.
But like it is a wonderfully like charming movie. And what was really interesting, so then I'm watching it and I'm like going, okay, how are they making this movie? And then you start looking into it, and it was shot all in order. It was shot on the actual journey, in the real places that he went. And it's like a documentary.
Yeah, like
and
it's
it's
a caravan, right? Like,
right, but like in the same way that, you know, we're talking about Darlene, the mum from What's Eating Gilbert Grape, being like a really close, authentic thing because it's like her life. It's that kind of authenticity of what's his name, Richard Farnsworth. You know, he didn't want to do the movie, but he was really inspired by the story of Strait, of Alvin Strait, and then like, you know, the fact that he is dying. You know, he died not long after by suicide. He took his own life because he didn't want to, like, you know, bone cancer. Spoiler alert! Absolutely fucking awful. You know, way to go.
And after he had lost the Best Actor nom to Kevin Spacey of all people, which like, man, is there an Oscar now you could think of in retrospect that was more like misplaced than
Is it American Beauty
for
American Beauty? Yeah, for K-Pax. They loved that banana eating scene in the Academy. They were like, this is God. But yeah, like in retrospect, is like, is there any more embarrassing like person to give the Oscar to, as opposed to
hindsight being 2020? Yeah.
But even at the time, if you know, because that American Beauty performance, like, I guess he's fine. I don't know. That's one of those performances when he won, I was like, really? That's the Best Actor of the year? That's what we're saying?
Was that 99?
90, yeah, in 1999, that's what the Academy was
Lost
like.
to The Matrix?
But this, like, because this movie got it was nominated for the Palme d'Or, and like I said, Richard Farnsworth was nominated for Best Actor. Was at the time the oldest nominee. I think it's whose name is this guy? Who played Father Beans and Chianti? Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, Anthony Hopkins.
Because he got nominated one at 83, I think, for the Two Popes or something like that. But this movie, like I said, it's weird. It's weird how slow it is, but you just you're sitting on that
It's
tractor
engaging
with him.
though.
Yes,
Yeah,
I can't quite put a finger on
yeah.
why, but it is. And then it gets to these moments. It's a
It's
very
because
simple story.
he's so endearing too. Like you're on board again, much like the world's fastest Indian. Like you were on board because he's so pure of heart and so charming, and you want to see how this journey goes. And then it just fucking ends.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can imagine this movie too. Like the other director I was thinking of where I'm like, I'm surprised Zemeckis didn't make this movie. Because this is kind of like right up his alley.
It's like
Yeah.
Forrest Gumpian, but he would have gumped it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was
so
expecting is there would be
Me
like
too.
everybody he met along the way, he would like get a new companion or get like more stuff added to his trailer. He really only adds deer antlers to his trailer. There's nothing else he really gains. But that's what you're expecting is like, and then the local news is going to start covering him.
I was expecting that. I was expecting no, none of that.
I did have a funny bit though, because this tractor is very slow.
Yeah.
When he's on that bridge and just all of the people piled up behind him are probably so sick of this shit. Like, again?
That didn't happen as much as I thought, which, you know, which is really funny in retrospect. 'Cause you do wonder how much in real life did that happen to Alan Strait, where there people are like, yeah, I'm glad your story is very inspiring. Can you move? Like,
yeah, like there's just one guy behind him, like
yeah, but like you know, I think it's the movie actually answers that question because they did the real route, and you see, it's just middle of nowhere, and like Iowa is a lot of countryside, and there's like not like you know when you get into certain towns and stuff like that, there'll be people, but it's the more you think about it, and you're like that man, I couldn't sit on a tractor 8-10 hours a day every day. For 6 weeks. This guy did it for 6 weeks.
That's the jaw-dropping part is when he like when they ask him like, how long have you been there? He's like, oh, a little over 5 weeks. You're like, I'm sorry, excuse me?
I was shocked. I mean, the thing only goes, what, 3 miles an hour? Right?
Yeah, so 5 miles an hour. It's a 240-mile journey. And he's doing it with nothing but a bunch of wieners. Like, I was like, this guy, you know, just smoking his cigar, eating his wieners. I'm like, good God, man. Like, good God. Eat
cold
a vegetable.
First too. Like, he just reaches back, like, early on, is just eating cold wieners.
Raw dog and glizzies. hey, we've all been there.
But it's like, but again, it's like, it's what is so kind of inspiring about it, because it's like, no, it's just that sort of level of determination, you know, and that sort of triumph of spirit, and that small town sort of stubborn. No, I'm just going to do like the way they even the guys from his local, you know, his buddies.
Yeah, the hardware store.
Like you're not even going to make it to, you know, the whatever the thing, and he doesn't. But like, like, I'm still going to go and do it again. I'm going out again to do this.
The cut to him blowing up his fucking tractor.
Yeah, it's so good. My dad and I are now quoting all the time, like, what you need the grabber for? Grabbing. Yeah. That just killed us. I love the guy behind the counter, like, can I get, you know, I'll take that grabber too.
That's his like personal
Alvin.
grabber. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, that's the only one I've got. Well, you got one in there. Oh, but Alvin, I gotta like, you know, just that guy is so, it just seems so beaten down by life.
Like the same way that, like you said, that you were talking about that bit with the brothers, how he just like, talks them down, negotiates like, well, how much that was real work and how much of that was bickering, and those tires have got tread but they don't look real, and he did it in such a great way. He honestly like, and I know because I was thinking about this movie, and I know like it's funny, like the way that I'm going to talk about it in like the video that I'm going to do is because sometimes you kind of see this Texas inside people. And I talk a lot about Texas because I live in Texas. I do videos about Texas, but I really do get into the idea of what it is and the mindset. And I'm seeing a guy like that, and I go, that guy's got honorary Texan written all over him.
Texas core.
You know, he's just got that like determination. I'm going to do it. But he's got this kind of like, he's the no sir, yes sir. He couldn't possibly of it all. That I'm watching this movie, and it's like, that's sort of like the vibe I see in this guy, because it's got
the weaponized politeness.
yeah. Because that scene with him just talking those guys down,
he disarms them with his words.
And you see the guy behind him, the guy that, you know, is just going, look at this guy work. This guy's got skills. Man.
Yeah, you know that guy's had to deal with the Olsen twins before, and he's just loving this old dude, like guilting them into like charging him less, and he's like, this is the best day of my life. This is great.
It's so good. And so like yeah, so we keep talking about like we're expecting this scene, and definitely expecting a scene when the door opens for his brother, and we see Harry Dean Stanton come out.
I was gonna ask, did you guys have because I didn't look up the cast of this, did you have like any anticipation of who that actor was going to be?
I was wondering if it was going to be an actor or if it was going to be like somebody like the rest of the movie, just somebody we don't really know.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, when Harry Dean Stanton came out, I did have that moment where like, it's a Lynch movie. Of course,
Yeah,
the Harry
it's
Dean Stanton comes
right.
out. Yeah.
he walks out, I was like, perfect, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like because then I do like how that it didn't put him in the credits until the
Mm.
end of the movie.
Yeah.
You know
Much
what
like Kevin Spacey and
I mean?
And
Seven.
K-Pax.
But like the bit, we're going to talk about it. So, like, guys, it's guys at home, we're not spoiling it, but we are at the same time spoiling it. But it's no big surprise he's going to make it. But we were talking about that Harry Dean Stanton comes out and delivers one line, basically.
Mhm.
fuck are you doing here?
Yeah. But he's like, and it's all written on his face.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just we're talking about great performances with Leonardo DiCaprio. This is another one of like, okay, well I've got one line, and he just asks him, "Did you ride that all the way here to see me?"
Mhm.
And he's like, "Yep," and then just has that reaction on his face, that little wobble on his lip.
It just starts tearing up.
The
And
guys
it's like,
sit down, and you just hear like Alvin take a big sigh. Cuts to the
Yeah.
end of the movie. Then I'm like, fucking Lynch.
yeah.
Two brothers.
And
that just got me. That
Yeah.
goes up there with like, saw that that scene, and afterward I'm like, damn it. You see it sometimes a moment so good, you're like, oh, I wish I thought of that and put that in my
Yeah.
movie. Because that goes right up there with before before sunrise, of like last moments in a movie where I'm like,
Mm.
oh, I wish I thought of that because that's so good.
I wondered if there was like more to it, and Lynch was just like kind of edited it down to just that one. Like, nope, let's truncate it. This is all we need to power the end of this film.
Yeah. Oh, I said before sunrise. I meant before sunset. I'm sorry. That's everybody should see the Before trilogy. Before Sunset has one of my favorite last moments in any movie ever.
So, like I said, so that final sort of like sigh or gasp, that Alvin makes was. So I was reading this is like it was just impromptu delivery by Farnsworth. I mean, like, don't forget, like this for him was the end of the movie. It was the end of the journey. He himself had, like I said, it's been a very real experience for understanding his character and this character's journey, and then making this movie, knowing, like I said, that he himself is staring down the barrel of the end of life. His journey is coming to an end in many, many ways, and he just has this sigh. And Lynch was like, he's just found it so moving. He's like, no, that's why I end the movie with it. Like it was just, well, that wasn't planned. It just happened, and it was just, yeah, man, absolutely cracking choice. Will, it's and like I say it so many times. Yeah, I've said it a lot of times on this show, but it's the best part of the podcast is watching a movie I never would have chosen.
Yeah.
I've never in my life would have seen this movie and going, I'm putting on that movie. I'm putting the movie. I mean, even like the preview pictures, there's some old dude on a lawnmower. Why would I want to watch this movie?
Like when you mentioned this the last episode, just sounding out, it's just about a guy on a tractor. And that just sounds like a movie I would never fucking watch. But I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah, me too. And like to the peeps at home, like do it. It just sit down. It's a good Saturday or Sunday movie. Just watch it. It moves at the speed of a lawnmower, but it just is gonna make you feel good. It's a movie I will definitely recommend people watch. Whereas What's Eating Gilbert Grape is, if you want to, you should see it. You should definitely see it for DiCaprio's performance. But it's more just like no. Watch The Straight Story, because it's not just it's more than just a movie. It's also a true story. It's gonna really like.
Yeah, I think Gilbert Grape feels very much like a product of its time, but Straight Story certainly feels more timeless.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. It feels like, sometimes it kind of feels like a TV movie almost, like in a way.
I think that's the Disney aspect of it. Like that wasn't lost on me throughout this. Like the fact that it's a Disney production is
G-rated.
Well, I think it wasn't like necessarily a Disney production. It's like they acquired it. So Disney acquired it after Cannes. So they took it to Cannes.
Oh, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah. So it was like a Lynch production. It was just, they made the movie, but he made some really interesting choice. Like some of the shot choices, like when the truck goes past and blows his hat off, and it's just a shot of like the hat's been thrown in the air, or when he's going down the hill and the transmission's gone, and you get this sort of like those close-ups, and it was like
mini action scene.
Yeah, but it was like it was done in that sort of movie of the week kind of.
Or like that scene where the lady hits the deer. I'm sorry, we can't believe we didn't talk about that scene.
Fucking hell.
But like when the car crashes, you don't see the car crash. It's just that weird like triple like zoom in on him
with sound effect in background and his concern on face.
Yeah, which is like that might be the funniest.
Because it's happened to her like a number of times.
Yeah, she says she hits a deer every week going up and down that road, but she has to go down that road because that's where she works. And she's just going down this like minute long like breakdown and just fucking leaves. Farnsworth is just standing there. Yeah. I love deer. And Farnsworth is just kind of watching her like, all right. And then she drives away.
Just peels off, leaves rubber behind.
And then the ultimate comedy shot of like you see like a deer carcass. You're like, okay. Then campfire. He's got a big old hunks of meat that he's cooking up on his trailer. Fresh new antlers. All right. Well, he didn't let it go to waste.
Eats off the fat of the land.
Yeah.
And it's got like, it just, when it goes to the music, it's just got this little theme that's just playing as it goes along. Yeah. It's a really great movie. And honestly, it's a fucking home run. There is this is the most Iowa movie we could have picked.
Is it more of a home run than
Yes, I am going to say
Field of Dreams?
It is more of a home run than Field of Dreams, because I remember fighting for Field of Dreams and going, look, man, it's like, it is the Iowa movie. It's a movie that Iowans identify with. It's a real place in Iowa you can go to. And of course, it's being ruined because it's now been bought by a conglomerate that's going to can turn it into bloody Field of Dreams land. But this movie is shot in the real place, in the real way, telling the real story of real people and the way that they interact it's not even a debate. It has to be. It's an absolute open and shut, unless like
I wouldn't be surprised if there was like an annual straight story like tour where everyone just gets on their tractors and just does that. Yeah,
just
that
goes
trip,
that path.
Like for charity or something.
I bet someone's like, if they haven't, they should, because that would be like a really great thing. But like, what do you guys think? I mean, like when it comes to Ira and these
certainly
movies,
more so than Gilbert Grape.
Yeah.
Was more so about the story about this family that just happens to be set in Iowa, where I think this certainly feels more Iowa to it. I mean, that makes sense.
It's like, the whole point of it.
Gilbert Grape is, could have easily taken place in Texas, and nothing would really change.
Absolutely nothing.
And this, A Straight Story is so close to just being a documentary. It's only like 1 or 2 degrees away from that. So I would fight for Field of Dreams harder if he didn't leave the state a bunch of times in that movie to go and pick up James Earl Jones and stuff like that.
What if he did it on a tractor?
Oh no, hold on. They just cross paths like Wall. He has
I loved you in Wall Street. I love you in Horizon Part 1.
I will watch that movie someday. But I'm not watching
such a fucking movie.
I'm not watching it until he releases Part 2. Apparently, it's supposed to be a 4-parter.
God. Part 2: Ghost Protocol.
Based on a double push.
Based on oh god.
But honestly, the Straight Story could have easily been called an Iowa story. Could have called it that. And
not as catchy, but sure.
Right. Not making as good a pun. But I mean, like, do you guys feel it's got its chops over Field of Dreams?
I think so. I don't think our audience would agree, but I stack these movies back to back. I think
I would challenge the audience to like watch. It's on Disney Plus. Like check it out. Like it's this is a movie that's not. If it weren't on Disney Plus, I don't know how most people would see it. It is not well promoted anywhere. There is no there's no physical release for it. You have to go. I think there is in every other country except America, which
Huh.
is the most ironic
Is
thing.
there a reason why?
Disney just doesn't believe in physical media anymore, except for like their major newest releases. They just have completely lost interest in it. So
But no, I'm actually agreeing with Will. Is that yes? I think I know a lot of people go, no, man, Field of Dreams and the corn and the baseball, and it's like a massive movie. But I'm with Will. I challenge you to
There's
watch The
yeah.
Straight Story and not be like, if
There's
I was Iwan, I'd be like that guy, that movie, that.
mhm.
Yeah, there's so much more built-in nostalgia for Field of Dreams. And even
Yeah,
like looking back on that episode, because I had never seen it before, rewatching it, I was like, I get it. But this movie resonated so much more with me.
yeah, yeah. They're both good movies, but I
Yeah.
would definitely say, if, for the premise of this podcast, I think hands down it's Straight Story.
Yeah. Straight
Yeah.
up.
So check it out, ladies and gents. Check out The Straight Story. It's done. It's official right here that the new movie to represent Iowa to the whole world and the whole universe, at least until we come back around to Iowa next time and pick another movie, is The Straight Story, made in 1999, telling the true 1994 story of Alvin Straight as he drives across the state of Iowa on his lawnmower. It's a truly charming, lovely little movie that I genuinely think you will enjoy. But the question is, when we do come back around to Iowa, what movie are we going to try and bring to sort of like take it down? What other movies could we have chosen? Because it's not a crazy amount of like Iowa
No.
movies. There is one that I did want to try and do because I've never seen it. Bridges of Madison County, which again would it sounds like all of these Iowa movies are like the slowest possible movie you could ever make. It's a
Yeah.
movie about a
Right.
guy taking pictures of bridges. It's like
I had the Jim Caviezel film Jesus' Son, but I don't know how much of it is really set there. I just remember that being a pretty wild film.
Yeah, I was my sister's boyfriend recommended a movie Cedar Rapids,
Yeah.
starring Ed Helms. He's from Iowa, so
Yeah.
he's a big proponent of that. So that might be something we pick
I
up. I'm a
remembered
big
in I remembered enjoying that movie.
yeah,
Another John
I'm
C.
a big
Riley one.
oh yeah, that's right. I'm a big proponent of Straight Story 2 Fury Road. So if we can do that one.
Oh my God.
Underrated
I would
Sissy
watch
Spacek
it.
comes back as Furiosa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's all like painted up and stuff like that. Oh my god, I would watch that movie. Oh
Wow.
god.
Wow.
Get to work on that movie poster. There we go.
Yeah,
I had this one on here called Butter, which I remember liking, but again, I don't know how much of that. But obviously, Michael's the most popular one with
dude.
Yeah.
Have you ever
that's-
seen that movie? I remember
Michael?
seeing that movie in theaters, like the one with
Oh,
John
wow.
Travolta as like
John Travolta,
as an
yeah.
angel.
I might have seen it too, but again, I get it mixed up with Phenomenon, where he's
Yeah.
also a magical being with powers. So
and Powder, isn't he also?
and Powder, no. So I saw one of them in theaters. I can't remember which one I saw.
Michael
I did
is
see
the one
Powder.
where he
in
goes
theaters.
battle, and then he challenges things to battle. And then I saw Phenomenon in theaters too. It was just back then when like after Pulp Fiction, everyone was like, "Hey, do you remember that we really like John Travolta?" And then
Yeah.
it was just in every movie, and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and see.
Look
the
who's
new film.
talking too. Look who's talking now.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Face
Like,
Off. Yeah.
yeah, man, he just went from making all of those movies to then doing Face Off and doing everything. That guy owes a lot to Quentin Tarantino. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So yeah, next time we come around, we got some movies, we got some things. I think it's going to be a tough nut to crack is beating The Straight Story because it
Yeah.
really just had so much purity to it and the Iowa to it as well. But where are we heading next week, guys? What is the state we are heading to next week?
Louisiana, baby.
Ooh,
The big easy.
You know
The
what?
Windy City. Yep.
Windy Apple.
I am actually quite excited about this one because the fellas have both picked movies that
Let's lighten it up a little bit.
This is gonna be a fun week.
Yeah.
So Ryan, why don't you tell us about your movie?
Oh,
It's
man.
a movie that my missus loves very
Yeah,
much.
I love this movie, and when it popped up, it just triggered all my because it was on TV all the time. But I picked Undercover Blues, starring Kathleen Turner and Dennis Quaid. Yeah,
Yes, Dennis Quaid
from The
and-
Substance.
and playing Morty, Stanley Tucci playing in it, just
Yeah.
absolutely stealing
As henchman number one named Muerte, but they call him Morty, which
that's the joke. It
drives him fucking nuts.
And it's hilarious. Yeah. It's basically Mr. and Mrs. Smith before Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's a great fun movie. And Will,
yes. What novelization did you bring to the table?
Tell us the gem that we're going to be watching.
I'm bringing a movie that has served as the banner on all my social media profiles for the better part of 15 years. I am bringing Hard Target. I cannot wait.
Oh, let's just think for a second as we go and watch John Woo's first American action
I'm so
movie.
excited for this, and I know I'm going to be so disappointed.
It's like, I can't. It's impossible. No, you cannot be possibly because let's just if you've never heard it stars Jean-Claude Van Damme as Chance Boudreaux, an out-of-work homeless Cajun merchant seaman and former recon marine.
Hell yeah.
This movie, I can't wait. I can't wait for the slow motion, curly mullet.
It's so funny when you said Hard Target, I for some reason thought it was the Steven Seagal movie where he's Native
I will
American?
never pick a Steven Seagal movie. Yeah.
Unless it's Under Siege.
That would be begrudging, but I would. This is only good movie, so I would pick that, yeah.
But yeah, okay, guys. So let's
Under Siege 2 Dark Territory.
I never saw Under Siege 2. Is it any good? It's
on a train.
Exactly. Yeah, and after we did that crazy Russian runaway train movie, that I'm like, okay,
huge letdown compared to that. I mean, no, it's no Tommy Lee Jones even in that movie to save it.
So I'm checking right now on our non-sponsor sponsor, Just Watch, who one day will eventually see this podcast and go, okay.
We should probably reach out to them.
And tell us to stop using their name.
Yeah. What was that vaccine joke? No. Hang on. Yeah.
When I'm looking online, Hard Target, it's tight 90, ladies and gents, so that would be a good one. It looks like it's available on Prime. It looks like it's also available on Fubo, so don't watch it on Fubo. If I remember correctly, that's the one that absolutely ruins movies for you. But yeah, Hard Target is available. And the other one, Undercover Blues, let's have a look. Is it available? Because that's one that you don't see.
No.
A lot. Which I wonder why. I can't.
You're thinking of Undercover Brother.
Which I see all the time, weekly.
Also, so both of our movies are 1993 movies. This one is available on Prime? It says not available.
No, it says watch similar movies. I don't think either of them are on Prime.
Okay, so that one might be a tricky one to find. We'll see if we can find it free on YouTube. But Hard Target, Undercover Blues, we head to Louisiana next time, guys. So check out those movies, watch them along with us. That'll be fun. Don't forget, check out The Straight Story. We challenge you to not like that movie. You can still find that one on Disney+. You can find more from me as that Englishman in Texas on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, things like that. You can find Will as entitled Willennial. Especially on TikTok, where he likes to talk about old movies. Especially, he's got an incredible movie selection and knowledge. It's always good fun to learn from him. And you can find Ryan as Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital. Try and find some of his great movie designs. Also, come find us on our Facebook page. Or, honestly, if you're an Indian SEO expert, keep reaching out to us, because we know we need help with our YouTube. But for God's sake, anybody else wants to send us a message.
It's the only comments we get.
Yeah.
But let us know what movies you think we should be doing and when we get to your state as well. It's always nice to hear from you. But from me, Ollie, from Ryan, and from Will, as always, thank you very much for joining us for this episode of the United States of a Movie podcast.